You're watching Football Daily, and here's our list of 10 quality players that made strange moves to clubs way below their level. 10. Dimitri Payet to West Ham. We've got Payet, Dimitri Payet. The West Ham fans bellow every single weekend, but quite how they managed to get him remains a mystery to most in the footballing world. The French star had created the most chances in Europe and was attracting interest from a host of clubs, including Juventus and Atletico Madrid. But in a shock twist of events, he joined the Hammers on a 4-year deal for a fee of just £11 million because there were just 2 years left on his Marseille contract and his wage was about to drop by £12,000 a week because of the French club's failure to qualify for the Champions League. In his first season in London, Payet was amongst the best in the league, scoring 9 and creating another 12, whilst also making a name for himself as the league's best free-kick taker. 9. Vasilis Hatzpanagis to Iraklis. Hatzpanagis is widely regarded as Greece's greatest ever player, earning the nickname the Greek Maradona, even though he only played for his country twice. Born in Uzbekistan, it wasn't long before the skillful midfielder found himself playing for the capital side Patakor, where he'd go on to score almost 1 in 3 from a role in midfield. Such was Hatzpanagis' talent that he actually drew serious interest from Arsenal, Porto and Real Madrid. Instead of getting his dream move though, and desperate to escape the communist state, he joined the first club to offer him a contract, and that club was Greek side Iraklis. The magician agreed to a horrible contract that somehow kept him tied to the club for as long as they deemed fit, meaning interest from the big clubs fast died out. Hatzpanagis eventually retired at Iraklis after 15 years under lock and key, winning only a Greek Cup, a Balkans Cup and the Soviet Second Division. 8. Mendieta to Middlesbrough. Gaisca Mendieta was once one of Spanish football's biggest driving forces, taking Valencia to consecutive Champions League finals and twice being named the European midfielder of the season. At the age of 27 though, his world turned from red and yellow to green, white and red, as Lazio paid the then highest fee for any Spaniard in history, a whopping £29 million in 2001. But sadly, Mendieta struggled badly to adapt, and after just 1 season went out on loan to a small club called Barcelona, where he made 33 appearances as the Blaugrana finished a shambolic 6th, 22 points off Real Madrid. After his loan move to Barca, Mendieta wanted out of Lazio permanently though, and was tempted by one of the world's greatest ever managers. Oh wait, it's Steve McClaren, who convinced him to join the world famous Middlesbrough. The Spaniard would go on to feature a measly 83 times in 4 years before eventually retiring in the north of England. If ever there was a player to define the phrase, always a bridesmaid, never a bride, Mendieta was that man. 7. Xherdan Shaqiri to Stoke. When Bayern Munich snap you up aged 20 and their treble-winning manager Jupp Heynckes describes you as the most coveted young talent in European football, everyone and their aunt knows you're going to have a top-class career. Well, everyone except Xherdan Shaqiri, who managed to flop at Bayern and at Inter Milan before eventually joining another European super club, Stoke City. The stocky Swiss winger joined the Potters for £15 million, in a move that seemed more impossible than defying the laws of gravity. Nevertheless, Mark Hughes was understandably excited. With Bojan, Arnautovic, Muniesa and Afellay already at the club, Stoke had amassed some quite unbelievable pieces of business in the prior transfer windows. Nevertheless, nobody could quite believe that Shaqiri had turned down Liverpool and Valencia just so he could live closer to the legendary Alton Towers. 6. Giovinco to Toronto. The Atomic Ant has been tearing apart the MLS since 2015, scoring 39 goals in 61 games thus far. And unlike most of the European exports playing in North America, Giovinco was only 27 when he headed to Toronto. Upon his arrival, and until fellow countryman Andrea Pirlo joined New York City FC, Giovinco was the highest paid Italian in the sport. And in his first season was awarded the league's MVP, as his move was labelled the transaction of the year. Despite Giovinco's scintillating form in the MLS, Antonio Conte omitted the 5'4" forward from his Euro 2016 30-man shortlist, stating that when you make a certain choice and go to play in a certain league, you do so taking it into account that they could pay the consequences from a footballing point of view. An upset Giovinco defended the league though, and still harbours hopes of playing for the Azzurri in the future. 5. Alex Teixeira to Jiangsu Suning. Chinese clubs decided to spunk money everywhere in 2016, breaking the Chinese transfer record 3 times in 10 days, luring the likes of Hulk, Ramirez and Demba Ba to China, paying them extortionate amounts in the process. But one name in particular stands out from the rest, as 26-year-old Alex Teixeira was gathering attention from the likes of Liverpool after scoring 22 goals in 15 league games for Shakhtar at the start of the 2015-16 season. The Reds even had a €32 million bid rejected, but the Ukrainian club accepted a €50 million offer from Jiangsu Suning, and the red-hot Brazilian who was about to enter his peak was on a flight to China. Reportedly earning £150,000 a week, Teixeira has been less productive than he was in Ukraine and might be on his way back to Europe as early as this January. 4. Wesley Sneijder to Galatasaray. Champions League winner Sneijder was arguably robbed of the Ballon d'Or in 2010, and when he moved to Galatasaray in 2013, he robbed us all of watching his quality shine in one of Europe's best leagues. Remarkably, at the age of just 28, that's the playmaker's prime, he decided to ply his trade in Turkey after contract renewal issues with Inter Milan. This was after being perennially linked with Manchester United and a host of other elite European sides. 3 seasons and 40 goals later, Sneijder still has some way to go before being as highly regarded for the Lions as Georgie Hagi was. But to be fair, the 32-year-old still seems to have gas in his tank, and is only 5 appearances away from being the Netherlands' most capped player ever. 3. David Beckham to LA Galaxy. Yes, Becks was getting past his peak when he moved to LA Galaxy aged 32. But with stints at European sides like Milan and PSG afterwards, you have to wonder whether he had more to offer at the top level before going to the retirement home that is the MLS. The English Galactico, who made over 30 appearances in his last season for Madrid, also made over 40 appearances in brief loan spells for the Rossoneri and the Parisians between the ages of 34 and 38. There's no doubt that Beckham played a huge part in enhancing the reputation of football in America, and was the key in seeing stars like Henry, Pirlo, Lampard and David Villa in the States. But the football romantic in all of us would have wanted to see Becks' wand of a right foot at a higher competitive level for a longer time. 2. Allan Simonsen to Charlton. Ever had a FIFA or a Football Manager save where a completely bonkers transfer happens? Well, it happened in real life too, with Allan Simonsen moving from Barcelona to 2nd Division Charlton Athletic in 1982. The striker won the Ballon d'Or only 5 years prior whilst at Borussia Mönchengladbach, and despite a decent 1-goal in 3-game record for the Catalans, he had to be moved on once Barcelona brought Diego Maradona, as the Argentinian and Bernd Schuster were chosen to take up the club's foreign player slots in the lineup. Simonsen didn't take too well to this and felt insulted by the Barcelona hierarchy, asking for his contract to be terminated. The Dane didn't get his wish though, but instead did bizarrely move to Charlton for £300,000, admitting that he turned down offers from Real Madrid and Spurs to play in a league with less stress and attention. He scored 9 in 16 for the Addicts as Charlton, unsurprisingly, struggled to fund his wages. 1. João Moutinho, Falcao and James Rodriguez to Monaco. Topping our list is the trio that turned Monaco from recently promoted minnows to title challengers in just 1 season. In the 2013-14 campaign, Monaco also signed the likes of Abidal, Sergio Romero, Martial and Toulon, and finished 9 points behind the dominant PSG. But the Portuguese and Colombians were the biggest buys, with James and Moutinho coming from Porto for a combined £60 million and Falcao costing the Principality around £50 million as well. Dodgy third-party ownership seemed to be the driving factor of the transfers, with El Tigre reportedly having very little input in his decision to leave Atletico Madrid. It turns out treating football like Monopoly isn't sustainable, and Moutinho is the only player out of the 3 that remains a Monaco player up to this point. Falcao sadly injured his cruciate halfway through his debut season and struggled on loan spells at Man United and Chelsea, whilst James went to the Bernabeu for €80 million after a stellar World Cup. Monaco have since focused on youth and seem to be functioning better than ever, with even Falcao banging them in. So there we have it, but what do you guys at home think? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, why don't you click here for loads more great content and down there to subscribe. And as always guys, we'll catch you later.